No-code development is currently moving in two primary directions. On the one hand, we have impressive, user-friendly visual development platforms like FlutterFlow, which I believe is currently the best. These platforms enable swift and straightforward design, testing, and launching of your dream app by crafting a UI, establishing logic flows, and connecting to your preferred backend. I recommend Supabase. Now, on the other hand, we have the rapidly progressing domain of AI and LLMs, large language models. The most recognized among these is ChatGPT, but there are many others as well. They provide answers to almost any query and can even generate code for you. Beyond text generation, they can also produce images and music. What's currently missing is a tool bridging these two areas. Such a tool would not only facilitate building a captivating app, but also harness potent AI models to empower users and achieve remarkable feats. Today, we're going to be discussing just such a tool. But before we dive in, as always, all the resources, including apps and tools I demonstrate on this channel, can be accessed and/or cloned from my Patreon page. To learn more about our amazing Patreon community, check out the link just below the video. Now, the tool that we're going to be discussing today is called BuildShip. So the first thing I want to do is I want to explain to you exactly what this tool does. And then we're going to log into my dashboard and I'm going to show you some of the interesting use cases that you can use this tool to accomplish. And then a little bit later in the video, we're going to jump into FlutterFlow and I'm going to show you some interesting proof of concept apps that seamlessly integrate with this tool and allow you to build apps that you couldn't have built before. And so here we are on buildship.com, and this is a tool that allows you to build backend tests in minutes, build scheduled jobs, build powerful APIs, and build all kinds of interesting things. And this is a low-code visual backend builder, and it's powered by AI. Okay, so if we scroll down, you're gonna see a quick user interface, and we're gonna jump into my dashboard and I'm gonna show you exactly how everything works. And so this allows you to connect pre-built nodes or generate your own. This is very, very interesting. Browse through a large set of ready-made nodes or create one using AI. No more waiting for integrations. Bring your ideas to life without code. Okay, so you can actually tell it what kind of node that you are looking to use inside of your app, and it's going to go out and it's going to create it for you. Okay, so you can scroll down, combine any AI model and tool into your workflow. Okay, so you can see all the different flow nodes, different utilities, AI models, integrations, etc., etc. Start fast with a template, remix, ship, and they give you a bunch of templates that you can get started with. Okay, so friction-free serverless APIs that scale. And so you can kind of learn more about this tool. You can read more about kind of the functionalities and the benefits and all of that. But instead of reading their marketing materials, I think a much better idea would be to jump into the dashboard, and so that I can show you firsthand exactly what you can do with this tool. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my dashboard. All right, so here I am logged into BuildShip's dashboard here, and it's important to know that I'm using the free plan here. And so everything that we're going to be talking about today is available under the free plan, which means you can get started right away without upgrading and paying money. Now, here on this dashboard, there's lots of things going on, but the first thing that I want to show you is that on this left-hand pane, we have a list of workflows, okay? And so this is where you're going to be creating and accessing your workflows. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to see this canvas that will show you the different nodes and how they connect to each other that collectively make up your workflow. And so as you can see, I have 3 workflows that I've built already. But if you need to create a brand new workflow, so if you've just logged into this tool, you can just click here and you've just created a brand new untitled workflow here. Now you can get started with a trigger, or you can also get started with one of these templates here, right? So you can do like Google Vision, text detection, you can do vector DB search, You can do text generation using a Palm LLM, translations, all kinds of interesting things. Or you can click on this and you can create your own workflow with your own custom trigger. So if you click here, you are given an option to use one of these 4 node types as a trigger, right? So you can have a trigger that's a REST API, Stripe, a webhooks, Telegram bot, or schedule. Now, what exactly is a trigger? So this tool is built around creating different nodes. And those nodes, when they're all combined together, they collectively represent a workflow. And a workflow is like an app. Okay, so as an example, let's say we want to create a very, very simple workflow where you can send a request and it's going to give you a response. Okay, so I have just this workflow right here. And so what this workflow does is that it exposes a test URL, right? A test path in our API. It gets a parameter and it has like a script that I wrote, and then it returns something, okay? Now, when I click on ship, I will be deploying this entire workflow into the cloud, okay? So as you can see, deployed successfully, and I'm given an endpoint. So I can copy this endpoint URL, I can come over here, and what I can do is I can send a request. So let's say I paste the endpoint URL, I do Q is James because it's expecting this format, and then I press enter, okay? And now it has executed this workflow in the cloud, and this is the response we got. So we passed in James, and it said, hey, James. And let's say I pass it something else. Let's say I pass it Mike, and we execute it, and it says, hey, Mike. And so what this simple workflow does, it essentially takes the input that we're sending, and it responds with, hey, and the input that we gave it, right? And this is what these nodes do, right? This first node, it creates an API endpoint that ends in test, okay? It accepts a get method. In this next node, we are parsing away the parameter that I'm sending that's denoted by Q. Now, once we have the word Mike, we have a starter script that just has one line, and all it does is it prepends hey, okay? So if you send Mike, it sends back, hey, Mike. If you send in James, it's going to send back James. Very, very simple. And last but not least, it responds with whatever value we've gotten here. Now, of course, this is a very, very basic workflow that does something specific, but you can use this tool to achieve pretty much anything that you want. Now, I can click here and add a new node. Okay, so I can generate with the AI that we're going to come back to. I have featured nodes I can paste from clipboard. I have different logic expressions, right? I can return something to the API call. I can do branching, looping, parallel execution, repeat, or I can have my own custom script. But what I really like about this tool is the different integrations. So we have Replicate, we have Cohere, we have cloud storage, we have Firebase, Firestore, Discord, file system, audio, all kinds of interesting things, right? So if you click on audio, and here we have 2 nodes. The first node extracts audio from a video file, and the second node converts text to speech using a specific API, okay? We also have GitHub, Supabase, Google Cloud, JSON, and if you scroll down, you have generic utilities, API call, array flattener, all of these things that you need in order to manipulate all kinds of different data, regardless of what kind of integration modules you're going to be using above. This makes it really, really simple to work with data, right? So things like text to lowercase, get query param, which is what I was using right here, this get query param. So all kinds of interesting modules that you can use here. Here's another workflow that I created that creates an API endpoint ending in /s. It's expecting a GET request, and then here it creates a Firestore document in one of my collections. So if I go into my Firestore console, as you can see, I have many collections, but I have this restaurants collection here, and this restaurants collection has 3 documents. And so this specific node right here, it creates a new restaurant in that collection, and this is the data here. And if we click here, it just creates a new document with a restaurant name James Pizza, something like this, okay? And so now I can click on ship. That's going to deploy this workflow into the cloud. It's going to give me back an endpoint URL. I can come in here, I can paste this endpoint URL, I can execute it. It's going to run, and it says here success. And now if I go back to my Firestore, I should see a new document. So I had 3 documents, and now I have 4 documents. So one of these documents is brand new. Hey, let's see which one it is. And it is this document right here. So as you can see, this is a brand new document that it just created, right? With the fields and the data that we specified in our flow right here. Now, obviously, you can do all kinds of interesting things with Firebase, Firestore. You can create, update, delete. You can also do all kinds of operations with Supabase. So I can come in here, I can search for Supabase, click here, and I can insert an object. And so I can easily create a workflow that inserts objects simultaneously into my Firestore database as well as into my Supabase database. I can just click here, and now I have my Supabase insert object node. And all I need to do is specify all the values. I need the URL, the key, I need the tokens, the table name, as well as the object. And now I'm going to have a workflow that not only creates a new object in Firestore document, but also inside the Supabase table as well. Now, everything that I've covered about this tool so far is pretty cool. There's some really cool features, and you can create awesome nodes that can connect to your Firestore database, or they can send dynamic responses to a specific request. It's really, really easy to create an API endpoint. All of that is really, really nice. But there are 2 primary features that I feel are really, really well done with this tool, and is going to set this tool apart from many other tools. The first thing that I really like about this tool is that it's very, very easy to not only interact with things like Firestore or Supabase, but it's very easy to interact with some very, very powerful AI models that can do a lot of interesting things. So here I created another workflow, and with this workflow, I'm connecting to a very powerful AI model that does really, really nice background removal. And in order to do that, I'm connecting to a service called Replicate. And if you're not aware what Replicate is, then check out replicate.com, and you can see that you can easily connect to all kinds of cutting edge AI models that can do all kinds of interesting things. They can generate images, they can process images, they can generate text, they can work with music, they can do all kinds of interesting things. This is essentially a repository of very, very cutting edge and powerful AI models that you can easily access via an API. And so what I did was I created my Replicate account, got my API key, and then used my API key right here with this specific node here. And so what I'm doing here is that I'm sending in my API key, I'm sending in an image URL, and this thing comes back with the same image except without any background. It's a very, very powerful model, and I've tested lots of images with it, and they all work flawlessly. So let me show you how this works, and then we're gonna jump into FlutterFlow, and I will show you my proof of concept app that I created with FlutterFlow that integrates with this specific model. So this workflow is very, very simple. We have an API endpoint. We have a get query param, which parses out the URL of the initial image. Then we run it through a background remover, and then we spit out that resulting image. So I'm going to deploy it into the cloud. We just deployed it. We're going to get back this URL here. Next, I went to pexels.com and I found this image that I can use in order to see if it's able to remove the background. So we're going to copy the image URL and send this image URL to our endpoint. So this is our endpoint right here. It's expecting a URL for the image, and we're essentially giving it that URL. We're going to press enter, and we are going to wait for this workflow to execute. And so the model finished executing, and this is the result that we got. This is the URL of the processed image. We're going to copy this, paste it here, and here's the same image, but without the background. And also, you should take notice that there are some hair elements there, and it is quite tricky to remove the background and still leave the hair there. So as you can see, it's a very, very powerful model, and using this tool allows us to very, very quickly and easily access this model to do all kinds of interesting things. Now let's jump into FlutterFlow, and I want to show you a proof of concept app that I built that interacts with this tool and with this model. So here we are logged into FlutterFlow, which is my no-code builder of choice, and I created a quick app just to show you how you can easily build all kinds of interesting apps that connect to this tool. So before I show you how I build this app, let's go ahead and run this app. All right, so here's our app. The first thing that we need to do is we need to upload the original image. Click here, select the image, and now we are uploading the image, and this is the image right here. And the next thing that you want to do is you want to click here, and this is going to remove the background and display the newly processed image without the background. So we're going to click here, we're going to wait a few moments, and this is the result. So as you can see, same image but without the background, using BuildShip and its integration with Replicate using one of their powerful background remover AI models. All right, so now that you've seen the proof of concept, let me quickly show you how I build this app. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to come in here and we need to set up our API calls. So I only have one API call. This is this BG remove, which stands for background remove, and I'm using this provided endpoint here. And this specific API call has a query parameter that we need to pass a URL, and we're passing it from a variable. And I have a variable defined here that's going to be passed to this API call when we run our app. And so we have this response and test. This is the URL, and I'm testing with this URL. Now, once you do a test API call, my workflow returns back a JSON object with a key called image URL and the value, which is the actual URL of the processed image. And so here I'm basically catching it and I am saving it as a selected JSON path so that I can use it inside of my app. Next, I have this UI screen here. I have this upload button that uploads a file to Firebase storage. And once the image is uploaded, we have this image here that gets displayed, and it basically shows this uploaded file URL. After that, we have an option called remove background. And the way this works is that if we open this, essentially it triggers an API call called BG remove that I talked about just now. Here we have the URL that we're passing, and this is this uploaded file URL. And if it's successful, we update widget state. It's a page state variable here. We update it to the image URL that we got back from the API call. Here we have this result image page state variable, and this image widget actually loads the image from this result image page state variable. And so once we execute that API call, we get back the image, we update the page state variable. This widget here will automatically display the newly gotten image from the API call. And as a result, you have this really nice flow here. Now with this tool, you can also customize any of the nodes that you are working with. It's not only a no-code tool, but it's also a low-code tool. So for instance, I can easily select a node and click on this code icon here, and I can easily see the source code for this specific node. So as you can see, this node takes in two parameters, and if you click on params, you can see these are the two parameters, image URL, replicate URL. I can add another parameter in case I'm working with a different API, or I want to customize this specific API. And here I can see the output. So as you can see, for the output, we are returning an object. And this object has just one field, which is the image URL. And in this case, it's just a string. Okay. Now, let's say I modify some of the logic here, either manually or with the help of ChatGPT. Well, in this case, I can easily test this node by entering the parameter values here and then press test node. And I can see whether this part of my workflow works as expected. Now, let's say you're building a workflow that does something specific for your unique use case. But the problem is there's no specific node that does exactly what you want. And so let's say you click here and you're browsing different nodes, but there's no specific node that does what you want it to do. Let's say you're looking to take a video URL and you want to convert it into a MP3 audio file, and you've browsed all the nodes and there's no specific node that does just that. Well, instead of hiring a developer, you can easily tell it to do just that. So you can simply click here and you can say, I need a node that accepts a video URL and converts it into MP3 URL using FFmpeg or something like this. Click on generate, and now it's doing the magic. So you have to wait a couple of moments for this to generate and create your own custom node for your unique use case. All right, so it finished creating our custom node that takes a video file and converts it into an audio file. And you can actually click here and you can see the code that was generated. So this is the code right here. It takes our video, saves it locally, and then runs a process to convert that video into an audio file and then returns the URL of that audio file. This is the audio URL. This is what you're getting back. So if you take a look at the parameters, we have the video URL, and then this is the output, which is the audio URL right here. And so now you can take your custom node that we've created, fit it into your workflow, and then build something similar to the app that I built with FlutterFlow that allows the users to actually interact with this workflow by uploading images, uploading videos, audios, etc., whatever the case may be. So I think this is a very, very powerful tool, and I think we really only scratched the surface here. And on one hand, you have really good integrations with a lot of these AI model repositories, so things like Hugging Face, Replicate, and others, which allows you to access these powerful models and integrate them into your no-code app very, very quickly and easily. And then on the other hand, you have this really easy way to create your own custom nodes for your specific use case by simply clicking here and telling this generator what kind of node you need, or what kind of things that it should be doing. And then once it generates the node, you can edit the code, you can modify it, you can add more parameters, you can change the return type, you can do a lot of interesting things. And then you can integrate that newly created node into your overall workflow. So a very, very cool tool with lots of potential. Hopefully they're going to keep adding interesting modules that we can use in order to build very, very interesting and unique workflows for our specific use cases. Now, if you guys are watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, this is a really, really cool tool, it's doing a lot of interesting things, and I definitely want to play around with it, and I want to see if there's some potential in terms of using this tool for my specific use case, maybe with the app that you're working with now, maybe with the app that you're planning to build in the future. And so if that's the case, then you definitely want to be able to easily integrate this tool with FlutterFlow, which is my no-code builder of choice. And you can easily do that by joining our amazing Patreon community, because when you join our amazing Patreon community, not only will you immediately get access to this proof of concept app that I built that allows you to seamlessly integrate with this tool, and you can use this to integrate with just about any workflow. All you need to do is tweak it a little bit and it should be ready to go. But that's not all. When you join our amazing Patreon community, you're also going to get access to pretty much every single app that I built on this channel, and there's tons and tons of apps out there. And if you're thinking about building an app, or you are stuck somewhere, you're already building an app, but you're stuck somewhere, you're not quite sure how to do something specific, well, worry no more, because chances are with all the apps that I've built, I've probably done something that you are struggling with right now. And so instead of reinventing the wheel, you should definitely check out our amazing Patreon community and consider becoming a member. You're also going to get a ton of extra content such as Q&As, live streams, behind the scenes content, and our Patreon supported masterclass series where I do a deep dive on specific topics that the community votes on. And so if you're serious about your no-code journey, you're serious about building apps, you're serious about taking this whole thing to the next level, then you definitely need to check out our amazing, amazing community and consider becoming a member. And you can do just that using the link in the description below the video.